Homo neanderthalensis evolved in Europe approximately 400,000 years ago. They are our closest human relatives. Adapted to living in colder environments, they had large noses for humidifying cold air and were shorter and stockier on average compared to Homo sapiens. Neanderthals lived in Europe, in Southwest and Central Asia until they went extinct 40,000 years ago. Meanwhile, Homo sapiens expanded rapidly. Homo sapiens originated in East Africa 200,000 years ago and began spreading out. They occupied the Middle East 100,000 years ago and modern-day China 50,000 years ago. 16,000 years ago, Homo sapiens began inhabiting Alaska. They then inhabited all of Europe 14,000 years ago. By 30,000 years ago, Homo sapiens began occupying the Americas. Finally, by 10,000 BC, they inhabited all livable parts of the planet. These two subspecies inhabited the same parts of the world at similar times. But what part of their culture was similar, and what differences allowed for Homo sapiens to thrive? Homo sapiens and Neanderthals inhabited the world at the same time, so their environment was similar. The climate at the time was characterized by glacial cycles due to the nearing end of the Ice Age. This caused the environment to be highly seasonal. These changes would have affected how Homo sapiens and Neanderthals lived and survived. The environments they lived also played a large role in the various foods that were available for them to eat. Neanderthals hunted various animals and relied heavily on meat. They often hunted ibex, deer, and wild boar. Near coastal sites, there is evidence that they also ate mussels, shellfish, and occasionally some marine mammals. There is also some evidence suggesting that some Neanderthals even ate cooked cereal grains. It is believed that they had an extensive diet that would have been varied based on the areas they inhabited. Homo sapiens also had a diverse diet of meat, plants, and grains. For most of our history, Homo sapiens have been hunter-gatherers. Due to this, Homo sapiens ate a diverse set of diet, depending on where they lived. Unlike Homo neanderthals, however, over time, Homo sapiens began moving away from the hunter-gathering societies, and about 12,000 years ago, they domesticated food. Not only did the animals Homo neanderthals hunted provide vital nutrients and energy, it is also thought that Neanderthals would have also used the animal hides to fashion some sort of wrapping around garment that would have been their version of clothing. But they would have at least attempted to protect themselves from the sun, wind, rain, and keep warm. Like Neanderthals, it is thought that Homo sapiens most likely had clothing very early on in their development in order to protect themselves from the elements. However, there's no direct evidence of clothing until 30,000 years ago. This evidence includes specialized tools such as needles, buttons, and beads that would have been sewn into clothing. And the remains of animals, such as Arctic foxes and wolves, that indicate they were trapped for their fur. Neanderthals are associated with the Mousterian Stone Tool Society. The various tools they were making required forethinking and advanced planning to ensure that they produced quality tools correctly. The key feature of the tool industry is the use of the prepared core technique of stone tool knapping, known as the levallois. The levallois technique begins with a careful selection of the raw nodal, and then the preparation of the nodal through knapping to produce one surface that is domed. A striking platform is created at one end, which, when struck, produces a flake of predetermined shape and size. The nodal may be prepared again, and the process is repeated until the core is too small. Here are some various examples of Neanderthal tools. Homo sapiens were also avid tool makers. Prehistoric Homo sapiens not only made and used stone tools, but they also specialized them and made a variety of smaller, more complex, redefined, and specialized tools, including composite stone tools, fish hooks, and harpoons, bows and arrows, spear throwers, and sewing needles. Tool use and communication are important parts of any society. They allow the group to set boundaries and protect those boundaries. All groups have communication, however, not all groups are capable of speech. Neanderthals, in fact, probably lacked proper speech. While there's genetic evidence of a gene, FOXP2, that shows the capability of synchronized tongue and mouth movement, the muscular design of their throats were more akin to modern chimpanzees. Neanderthals did have a fully developed hyoid bone, necessary for rudimentary articulate noises. If anything, they most likely could associate simple sounds with ideas. However, early Homo sapiens most likely had a very primitive form of speech from the beginning. It is highly assumed that with advantageous control of fire, a more group setting, which could lead to development of a more complex communication system. Fire would have facilitated a calmer human, with increased social skills, to communicate and work in group settings. Since physically, Homo sapiens had everything necessary for proper speech, a fully developed hyoid bone along with muscles in the throat and mouth. They probably began at least a basic speech when they started gathering in groups. While speech is useful to help communicate, hierarchy in groups can be communicated both verbally and through various nonverbal cues such as body language, touch, and eye contact. Evidence shows that Neanderthals probably lived in small groups of about 20 individuals, including the elderly and children, with an alpha male and subordinate hierarchy. It's possible that this male was the only one to sire children. Although with similar reproductive cycles to humans, the other males could have mated at any time. High amounts of infant bone suggest either high mortality rates or possibly infanticide by the alpha males. Homo sapiens existed in a very similar societal structure to Neanderthals. Being a mostly hunter-gatherer society, tamer individuals would have congregated in groups around a common source with which there would be fire. Coming together in groups to better increase their chances of survival, a leader would emerge to delegate tasks among the individuals in their home, usually to be dominated by a male. An example would be that the males would go out from their home to hunt and use tools they created, with females and young children most likely foraging for edible plants in the case that the hunter would not catch anything. Evidence has been shown that humans are naturally social, which led to the establishment of an extremely wide variety of traditions, rituals, ethics, values, and social norms. How a culture handles the dead can tell you a lot about their society. Neanderthals buried their dead in simple grave pits. These burials indicate a higher cognitive ability, but it is not known if there were religious implications. Rather, it was possible that self-awareness and placement of value of worth on others. This trait is otherwise unseen outside of Homo sapiens. Likewise, burials of deceased individuals was very much a practice of early Homo sapiens. In archaeological discovery sites, individual remains have been found in caves, and some can be assumed to be tombs. In addition to the specific way that they were buried, some have been found with objects such as red ochre, which is a type of clay, and color-stained tools. Being buried with objects can be a sign that they were used in rituals. Since Homo neanderthals and Homo sapiens overlapped in both location and time period, it is interesting to see what their interactions with each other would have been like. Their mutual period of time sharing the European continent lasted for over 6,000 years, and it is believed that there was actually interbreeding between the two groups of humans. Interbreeding between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens was most likely to occur when Homo sapiens were migrating out of Africa and into Europe and Asia. Neanderthal DNA would have been lost over time due to gene flow between Homo sapiens from different areas. Due to interbreeding, approximately 2% of the non-African modern DNA is shared between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. In the end, it is only the most adaptable of species that survive. That turned out to be the Homo sapiens, or humans, as we are widely referred to as today. As a society, we grew, and civilization began, long after the Neanderthals went extinct, asserting our dominance over the Earth. But our extinct cousins still represent a crucial part of our world's history, as understanding them can better help at understanding ourselves.